Good morning, welcome to another video. That's me finished pre-baiting some spots. I've had a wander down the stretch and I've baited up 8 or 9 spots, some which I've fished before, some which I haven't fished before, but it's all the old mashed bread gone. Now we're out this morning, as the title suggests, to do something a little bit different. What I've done is I've come to a familiar stretch here. A stretch which I've not fished for a few weeks, purely because the river has been so up and down, up and down. This stretch is a little bit better when it's dropped off a bit, which it has at the moment. So I thought I'd come down, as I say, do something a little different. What I've done is grabbed some different gear. Now normally when I come and do this sort of thing, I've got my Dower Power Mesh 1.25 rod, GSBR LT 3000 reel. But today, what I've done is grabbed a setup I've sorted out for my daughter. Real budget setup, but one that will do the job, certainly. So I thought I'd bring it out, see what we could catch with it. What I've got is Advanta RVS Discovery River Ambush 7-foot rod. It's 1.75 pound, and coupled that with a X540 FD reel. Both available from Angling Direct. They're both Advanta. That's Angling Direct's own make. And yeah, just thought we'd come out and have a go for some chub and possibly some roach, looking at the colour of this. Now the river it's a lovely colour. This river generally runs green with about 18 inches, 2 foot of visibility. When it comes up, obviously it's brown like most rivers, but it's just dropping off. It's about halfway in between at the moment. It's sort of olivey colour. And I say, baited a few spots. We've got perhaps 3 or 4 hours to have a wander about, see exactly what we can do. I've baited it with mashed bread, as I mentioned. I have got some worms with me, but it's going to be bread, which is going to be the mainstay today. I'm going to fish bread behind a tiny little feeder, one of these Preston plug-it feeders, something like that. The weight of the feeder is just going to be dependent on the flow in the swim. It's still pushing through in a few swims down here. It's a little bit high, but we should do all right. Anyway, I'm waffling. We need to crack on. We'll have a go in here and then we'll work our way back up the stretch through the baited swims and hopefully catch a few fish. So, worth mentioning, it is absolutely freezing this morning. Freezing cold. I had to scrape the car to do the school run this morning. It's about 2 degrees at the moment. But I'm all thermaled up, so we'll be fine. Not a breath of wind. I did actually think about doing some trotting today. That was my first thought when I saw the lack of wind and the level of the river. But I suspected it wouldn't be quite clear enough. And I think I was right. We've only got about 3 or 4 inches of visibility. And the thing to remember with trotting is really the fish need to be able to see the bait coming, because they're intercepting it obviously in the water column, so they need to be able to see it coming. And if they can only see that far in front of their faces, there ain't much chance of that, is there? So, ledgering it is. I've got my standard running ledger rig on here. I've set it up on this rod. I'll direct you to a video up there and down in the description on the Fishing Tips channel if you want to go and have a look how I set this up. Much easier than trying to show you on the bank. I don't think my daughter's going to thank me for getting her rod and reel covered in mashed bread, but if we catch a few fish, it will justify it. Right, let's have a go. There we go. Right, we'll have a go in here for a few minutes and then we'll move on. Now, £1.75 Tesco rod perhaps seems a little bit overgunned for this sort of fishing, and it is a little bit, but because of the short length of the rod, it's not really a problem. And I don't think the chub are going to be shy in giving us bites. I think we'll know about it if we get a chub bite, or as and when we get a chub bite. I'm going to try in here just for a few minutes. I fished here once before and it did me a chub. You probably see there's a little carrier stream over there. And when the river's in flood, which it has been twice since we last came down here, I'm sure lots of food gets washed down that carrier into here. So hopefully the fish are sort of hanging about in there, waiting for some food. All right, there we go, look. That was a tap, wasn't it? It's relatively stiff quiver tip on here, especially as I managed to break the very top tip ring off, unfortunately. So it's a little bit stiffer than it was. So rather than being 7 foot, it's actually about 6'10", this rod. But never mind, we'll know about it if we get a chub bite. As I say, we had a few plucks then. Now, as far as mashed bread goes, I've got this mixed up really stiffly, and nice and stiff, so it will stay in the feeder. Knowing this river was going to be pushing through, certainly in some swims. When I'm trotting, I have it really wet. You want it to break up as it's falling through the water, but when you're ledgering, you want it a bit stiffer. So if you want to see how I do it, nearly put that in a tree. If you want to see how I do it, I'll link you into a video. I made a video again over on the Fish and Tips channel of how I mash up bread. But obviously it's very simple. You just dunk a slice of bread in some water and mash it up. But just made a video of how I control the wetness of the bread, as it were. As I say, if I was fishing with very wet mash at the moment, it'd be a waste of time be throwing it in it. It'd just be drifting off downstream. What we want it to do is get to the bottom where we're fishing, and of course be stodgy enough to stay in the feeder. I don't think I've used this rod for years and years and years. It's a brand new reel. And talking budget as well, just so you know, I mean the rod is less than £30 and the reel is less than £30. So you know, we've got a decent setup here for just under 60 quid. I'll certainly do a job on these smaller rivers. Well, we'll see what job it does, won't we, today? All right. God, that was a proper. We're in. Look at that. First swim. Fantastic. Well, you don't feel a bad fish, to be fair. Just plodding. Oh, he's not bad, is he? Come on, chap. Oh, that's a nice fish to start with. Well, I'm not going to moan about that. That's cracking. And the rod and reel acquitted itself lovely. I'll stick all the information on all the gear I'm using, line, etc. down below in the description if you want to go and have a look at that. Well, that's cracking. One swim in and one lovely chub in the net. Well, hook's dropped out in the net, which is cracking, but that is a fantastic start. That's the best part of £3 all day long. And that belly, absolutely wonderful. And what a cracking scrap as well. Beautiful fish. Look at the size of that paddle. That's why I fought so hard. Cracking. Right, we'll give it 10 more minutes in here, I think. Definitely worth a go after pulling him out. This is a cracking swim. I say I've only fished it once before. I do think they're sat down there waiting for all the worms and bugs and grubs and stuff to get washed down that little carrier there, that tiny little side stream. Just drains off the fields, basically. Well, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Often in this river, one bite in a swim and you're done. Not always. It's always worth another 5 or 10 minutes, but usually you catch a fish and you don't get any more bites. Certainly not in the timescales I'm talking about. And I want to fish perhaps 8 or 9 swims in a few hours. Right. But you know, you have to bear in mind we hadn't even pre-baited this swim. And we had a bite in within certainly 5 minutes. It's just a case of dropping on the fish. If you drop on them and they're hungry, they'll have it. And of course, I've pre-baited these other swims to give us the best chance. Just let the fish know that there's some bait about. Quite a lot of them are pushing through a bit though, so you know the bait's not necessarily going to hang about, certainly not mashed bread. That's why, as I say, I mix it up very stodgy. As you can see, it's almost like plasticine. What I've taken to as well recently, I've been trying different things in there. I tried a bit of garlic puree at one point, which I was doing okay on. I thought I'd go down the sweet route. I actually tried some condensed milk. This has got some condensed milk in it, which stodges it up even more. Not too much, I just add some to the water that I'm using to put the bread in, to soak the bread in, and then put a bit more in at the end. It just gives it a slight sweet smell, and I think it clouds the water up a little bit as well. Especially good when the water's a bit colder. Not a tap. Right, I'm going to call it that. We've got plenty of swims to go at. So we're not going to hang about when we're not getting bites. And the best chance of getting a bite in a swim is when you first get into it. So, look that up there. And we'll get moving. Get this fella back. That's a cracking fish, that is. Absolutely cracking fish. As I say, he's certainly £3 or getting up that way anyway. Great winter condition. Gone. Right, next up, I think possibly my favourite swim on this stretch, purely because a few months ago we had 4 chub out of here from by that cover there. So I guess it would be my favourite, wouldn't it? A couple of 3s as well that day, I seem to remember. It's usually good for a bite though. We've never repeated that in here. But I do kind of get the feeling that these fish are relatively transient. They do like to move around, which is why it's a good idea to keep on your toes yourself. Right, we've got the old bread again, of course. Such a cracking bait, even in coloured water like this. It's a cracking bait. Right, it's a bit weird trying to get used to this short rod, casting wise. Right, let's see what that does. Can't beat a bit of flow going under some cover like that. Yeah, that was definitely an inquiry. There we go. Blimey, having it today, aren't they? Well, this is not beating me up like that last one did. Although of course he's trying to get in the cover. Actually trying to get under my wellies. Oh right, someone's after me. Oh, he's not a bad fish. Absolutely wonderful. Well, certainly having it today despite the cold weather. Well, another cracking fish. He's over £3, certainly. Absolutely cracking. That's wonderful. Great stuff. What a session. This is cracking. We've only been fishing, I mean, just to put you in the picture, we've only been fishing probably about 15 minutes in total, something like that. Seem to be on it, don't they, today? Well, what a cracking session this has turned out to be already. And yeah, I've just checked the phone and we've been fishing just 15 minutes. Well, that includes the time it took to walk from that swim to this one as well. Right. Well, long may it continue. Oh, that's better. as I say, often on this stretch, 1 and out, but worth another cast. All right, there you go, look, straight away. Can you believe it? That's just, they're going absolutely crazy today. I mean, he's straight on that. Feels a bit more skittish, this fish. Feels slightly, perhaps a slightly smaller one. Yeah, it's small though. God, look at that. Well, we're having it today. He is smaller. Well, that's about that one. Slightly smaller, but still an absolutely cracking fish. Wonderful. Right. 2 at 2. This is quite fantastic. See, I've been up here and really struggled in the past, and sometimes you catch it right. And for whatever reason today, we've had 3 frosts the last 3 nights. We had some cold water go in. The last flood we had. For whatever reason, these fish are on it today, which is cracking. It'll certainly be a good day as well to do a bit of exploring in these swims we've not fished before, because we'll find out whether or not they actually hold fish. If these fish are really on it. But of course I'm not going to leave a swim like this where we're catching. That would be daft. But if we go sort of 10 minutes without a bite, that'll be our cue to move, I think. Right, looks like we are done here. Nothing else doing. There's too many good swims to fish to hang around when we're not getting bites. Well, they're very lively after resting up in the net, but we'll try and have a quick look at them at the same time. There we go, how's about that? Fantastic. Right, we won't mess them about too much, we'll get them back. Give them a second just to get their breaths back again. They're well recovered though. Been in there for 10 minutes or so. Off you go. Cracking. Right, on to the next. So once again, a swim I have fished before. Sometimes good for a bite over there, not always. A bit of cover. Done a couple of swims now where we've not fished before and I've not had a bite. So we're back on more familiar territory in this one. A big bit of cover over there, you can see some water running underneath it. As I say, sometimes there's a bite, sometimes doesn't. Although, you know, as you fish swims, I'm sure you perhaps experience it yourselves. You get to sort of know what to expect from a swim, and there do usually seem to be a few chub under there, but they usually seem to be smaller ones. We'll see. We'll see what happens. As I say, they're sometimes up for it in here, and sometimes they don't want to play ball. One way to find out, isn't it? Now we're in. Perhaps we will find out what it is. Feels like a chub, to be honest. I'm pulling that hard, don't. Perhaps it's a smaller one. Come on. Trying to get me in the edge, of course. Should indicate a chub. Certainly is a chub. Oh, that's a nice one. Being very cute. Cracking. There we are. Wonderful. Lovely young looking fish. Absolutely fantastic. Cracker. Right, I'm going to put him straight back. We'll get moved. It's another one, which is great. Just let him get his breath back. As I mentioned, slightly smaller chub under that tree. Proves the point once again. There we go. Off you go, chap. Right, we'll go and cross the bridge and we'll go, we're on the right bank at the moment, we'll go left bank and work our way upstream. No, that's it. I'm going to call it a day there. That's been a cracking session. We've fished some swims we've never fished before. None have produced a chub, unfortunately, but you know, it doesn't mean they won't in the future. And I think every single swim, you know, I say hand on heart, every single swim I've dropped a bait into, we've had bites in. It's been cracking actually. There's clearly a lot of fish about. I think most of them were smaller fish. We've had lots of taps and rattles and knocks on the quiver tip. But yeah, it's good to see it switching on again. It does seem to be full of life. It's cracking, and there's bits of rain due over the next few days, but not too much. A little bit of rain due today, but hopefully, as I say, hopefully not too much, and they've not forecast too much, but hopefully just keep this river topped up nicely. But yeah, it's been a very enjoyable session, and this Advanta rod and reel have done me proud as well. We've had 4 chub on them and 4 decent chub as well. But yeah, second half of the session sort of petered out. I mean, it's not a great time of day, is it? It's lunchtime. The sun came out, as you'll have probably seen in the footage, and I think that helped to kill things off a bit. But we fished some decent swims in the second half of the session, and aside from lots of taps and rattles, nothing doing. Anyway, I'm waffling. Time to go home. Now, I'm going to be out again, hopefully, over the next few days. We might try a different river, or we might try a different stretch on this river. I'm not sure which. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Tight lines, enjoy your own angling. Many thanks to the channel patrons for your fantastic support. And I'll see you again very soon.